We're joined now by Chad Penn, a soil chemist here at Oklahoma State University. And Chad, you've been studying land application of water-based drilling mud for a few years now. You have some research set up here at Lahoma. Talk about how you set up this study and kind of what your thoughts were going into it.
We established these plots about 2.5 years ago. Initially, it was a study looking at the timing of water-based mud application to wheat. We applied the mud at different stages, and in that year we harvested the wheat and determined the treatment effects of different rates of salt application on the wheat. And it turned out that initially, for the first year, there was no statistical difference between plots that had received water-based mud and those that had not received it. When we used application rates of the full legal limit in the state of Oklahoma, 6,000 pounds of total salt per acre. Also used 2/3 of that rate on obviously control. And then the following year, we didn't apply any more mud, but we maintained the plots and we continued to monitor them and also monitor the soils. And the bare spots, we had these bare spots that developed from excessive sodium absorption ratio, or in other words, the soil became saturated with a bit too much sodium in these spots. And while that's not a problem for wheat that's already established, it created a very difficult environment for the wheat seed to germinate. So it turned out that when Google took their aerial imagery in March of 2014, we could actually see the overlay of the plots. We could actually determine we could overlay our plots on it and see the plot treatments. We could see a lot of bare spots even from the satellite images.
So is that concerning to you as a researcher?
Yeah, this is information that I was oblivious to. The first year when we applied it to a standing wheat crop, we didn't really see reductions in yield and everything was fine. At that point I hadn't been thinking ahead of what might the soil environment be like for a germinating seed. The salt leached out mostly, and we thought everything was fine. Also our grass plots, which we have established at the Lahoma station, and in follow-up years there was no problem with those either. But again, the difference between wheat and grass is obviously with wheat it's an annual crop and you're trying to germinate, sow a seed every single year. With grass, you don't have that problem. But we would have never known this if we hadn't maintained these plots and continued to monitor them. Most of the bare spots have gone away. We'll have more information after wheat harvest this year, and it's absolutely necessary to have rainfall, adequate rainfall to kind of recoup that soil and move those salts out of the profile.
If a producer is considering having drilling mud applied to their land, what should they consider?
The most important thing to consider is the quality of the operator. There's many different land application companies throughout the state, and some of them are very high quality, extremely professional. However, there's evidence of a lot of land application companies that do not have very good quality control, and as a result, unfortunately there's a fair number of sites that end up having problems where the soils become burned up from excessive salt application.
So do your homework.
Yes, the best thing to do is check with your neighbors to see what their experience was like.
Now you've studied this a couple of years, you're entering into year 3. What will you look at now? We'll make a decision after the wheat harvest this year. Okay.
If we continue to see differences in yield between plots that receive the highest rate of mud, 6,000 pounds of salt per acre, and the control, then what we might do is till half the plots. Part of the reason why we see some of these bare spots is because we didn't till these plots. We did that on purpose because we wanted to be able to come back and measure exactly how far the salt has moved through the soil profile. Again, if the yields are low this year, we'll probably till half the plots and compare it.
Okay. And you and the team have put together some fact sheets and more information that producers can access, so we have those available too? Yeah,
there's a couple fact sheets, I'm working on a couple more, and there's also a webinar that's posted on OSU's extension website.
Okay, Chad Penn, thanks a lot. Keep us posted on how things turn out here. And for a link to those fact sheets and for more information on water-based drilling mud application, go to sunup.okstate.edu.